It is a special time of the year. It is August, and that means that we're kind of in like the Sunday of summer, right? We're kind of easing into fall, and perhaps part of that is maybe sending some kiddos away to college. That means emptying the nest a little bit. And that's what we're going to talk about here on this episode of the Just Start the Conversation podcast. It is brought to you by St. Luke's Penn Foundation. As always, joined by my partner in crime, Amie Alanson Dundon. Amie, how are we? How are things?
I'm doing very well. I'm actually looking forward to pumpkin spice. I mean, people might crucify me, but I'm ready for fall. So let's go.
I need anything pumpkin to coincide with football. They have to be hand in hand for me. If you're pumpkining too early, I'm going to be a judge of that. And Jennifer Schriffert, she is in community support at St. Luke's, joining us as well to talk about empty nest syndrome. Jennifer, thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate your insight.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Now, your pumpkin thoughts, what are they? Are you pumpkin in or pumpkin out? Where are we?
I'm pro pumpkin. I'm pro football and fall, pumpkin, football. It all goes together.
Who thought we'd have a pro pumpkin conversation here to get started today? That's the way we like to kickstart things before we get into our serious conversation. And we're getting ready to talk about empty nesters. And for some people, it might be like, hey, I can't wait to kick you out of the car fast enough. And for others, it could be a bit of a difficult transition. So, Jen, I want to start with you here and just kind of go into a little bit of what an empty nester is. How would you define an empty nester?
An empty nester that doesn't have children at home, basically.
And so for those that are on the not kick everyone out of the car and go home and celebrate and put on Margaritaville and enjoy ourselves, for the flip side of that, for those that are getting ready to transition and maybe not quite ready, what would be maybe some first steps or tips that you would have for people as they're getting ready to make that transition into an empty nester?
For me, I was telling Amie, I have a very odd, different situation than most people because I have had a child at home for 30 years. Our children are very spread out. And so I had a more difficult time with my first one than my last one. So my last one, I was playing Margaritaville. my first one, I found out when he decided to commit to the college that he committed to, which was very, very far. I went on a run with my friend and I cried the entire 3 miles.
Aww.
And so from that experience, and then we have a child in between, I learned it's how you deal with it. It's preparing for it, because I think a lot of times it kind of comes up on people too quickly. Like you're in the whole prom, so you're doing prom and they're doing sports and all these things at school and they're so busy. And then all of a sudden you're packing them for college and sending them off. So I think preparation is key, getting ready to send them off.
Amie, what do you think is, we talk about preparation being key. You can only prepare so much really for any situation. Some surprises or maybe some things that might be unexpected that could catch up with you a little bit in this transition.
Yeah, I think there's a few things, right? I think that the top one is that really this is about grief. It's about grieving a loss. So for both parents, we've talked about grief a ton on this podcast, and grief looks different for everybody, right? But what we know is that typically it's the mothers who experience the highest amount of grief when children have to move out, right? Because women really see motherhood as their primary role in life. It's a little different. That fatherhood and motherhood are a little bit different for most people. Most moms will adapt in time, but it's a period of can be very heartbreaking loss, heartbreaking grief. And, one of the things that I think really happens to moms especially, it's both. I don't want to overlook the dads, but our relationships are different. And it really is about that. All of a sudden I have a lack of purpose. Like Jen just said, I was football mom, I was packing lunches, I was whatever for 30 years, if you have multiple kids at home. And now all of a sudden, I don't have anybody to drive anywhere. I don't have any activities to go to. I don't have any problems to fix in my house. All of a sudden, my purpose is gone.
You question your purpose.
Yeah.
I think I read something that was really profound, that motherhood is the only job that if you do it well, you work yourself out of a job because you're so successful. You set your kids up for success, so they're on their own. And
Well, what did you say you call it? You don't call it empty nesters?
I said with my last child, I reframed it, instead of being an empty nester, a bird launcher.
Now that's a cup half full conversation.
It
right
is, but
there.
you know what it makes me think of? It makes me think of Angry Birds.
Angry Birds, yeah,
Right,
for
where I'm
sure.
putting the bird in the slingshot and I'm just
Yeah.
I'm just shooting him to like the next continent.
Which is also very fun. If you haven't played the game before, you should certainly check it out. I kind of want to talk about relationships with the other people in our lives a little bit as this transition happens now. To your point, Amie, we talked about how filling time with practices and lunches and all of those things can lead to perhaps looking at some of the other relationships that you have in your life. Jen, I want to come to you as we talk about being an empty nester. Did you see a big change or pivot in any of the other relationships in your life that are important to you?
I could spend more time with my friends. My husband, when I talked to him about this, he said that our lives were less chaotic, so they became a little bit better in that respect. We have more time for each other. I mean, we've been married 34 years and have had a child at home for 30, so it's been a long time since it's been just the two of us. And we're kind of rediscovering that relationship. Oh, we can leave and we can go away for the weekend. We don't need to worry about parties at our house or somebody being fed. So it does definitely change the other relationships.
Never any parties at the Crockett household back in the day, by the way, Mama and Papa Crockett.
Oh, your time's coming. Your time's coming.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because, as we're having this conversation, it's interesting. So my youngest is 5 and getting ready to start kindergarten. And Amie, coming back to your point about like how a mom feels versus how a dad feels in this situation, I'm having a really hard time with my 5-year-old going to kindergarten. We obviously aren't empty nesters. They're going to be home, but I'm interested, Jen, to come back to you here as we talk about Amie's points of like the mother and the father in this situation. Did you find that your husband had a difficult time with the transition, or that
Not as
you
much.
kind of
Not as much. It was more, and I think part of that is as Amie said, I've spent all those years. All 3 of my kids are 3-sport athletes. They're all Eagle Scouts, like very, very involved. Like I spent a lot of time with them, and my husband did too. He coached. He was a Boy Scout leader, but I did more school things. I was the football mom. I was the soccer mom, the tennis mom, and I think just it was more of my day-to-day life. Whereas we dropped my first one off in college at Florida, I cried the whole entire way home. We drove, and I cried the whole way home. My husband kept going, "It's fine, it'll be okay," but I cried.
your husband's probably saying, "I wish this was a flight." That's a long drive from Florida.
He said, "I wish you went to school in New Jersey."
Yeah, for sure. I want to talk a little bit, Amie. I'll come to you on this about maybe finding a new routine. That's got to be really hard. To go from a situation where you constantly, the word we used was chaotic. I'll agree that there is chaos in that. We'll call it a little buzz. We'll give it a little more of a positive spin. That there's always kind of a buzz in your house when there's people there. The change in routine, the change in lifestyle, maybe just a little bit into that conversation and how. One of the things that we always talk about is our support system. And whatever situation we've had that we've discussed in these podcasts, it's about the people that are closest to us, whether that is a significant other, that's friends, that's extended family, whatever that might be. Knowing when a routine has maybe gotten a little bit too deep into grief and maybe has led to a depressive state, just a little bit of just the routine shift there.
Well, Jennifer in a very lovely way talked about kind of how her relationship and her life got a little better once the kids left, but it's not that way for everybody. It's not as easy to shift routine for some people. What we know is so important is that if you have a partner living with you at home, a spouse, a significant other, it's really important to have new routines with your partner. Because to Jennifer's point, the kids come first, so that relationship is on a back burner for many, many years usually, right? So you have to kind of rediscover each other again, which means getting into new routines in your relationship, right? If that relationship already had problems when the kids were at home, it really can make it, the kids leaving can make it worse sometimes. So I think that's important to really address, to say, if the kids were the glue, right, that held this house and this relationship together, and now the glue is gone, it's really important to have routine with your partner to help rediscover you as a pair, and what the new routine has to be to get to know each other again and make your own glue, right? That's very, very hard for a lot of couples once they are true empty nesters, because things sometimes fall apart, right? So we have to look at it as, is this change stressful versus is this change refreshing? If I can look at it as, there's a way to refresh my marriage, there's a way to refresh my friendships, there's a way to refresh my daily routine, my exercise routine, my hobbies, right? Did I have to give up my own hobbies or interests or activities because I was, my job was to be there for my kids? Can I go back and start to look at hobbies or professional associations maybe that I want to belong to? Can my work routine change, right? If I didn't work, if I couldn't work, do I want to do that now? Do I want to, I don't want to set myself up for failure and say, I'm going to go get my PhD if I haven't gone to college yet, but could I take a class, right? Could I take a class at community college? Could I change my personal routine to start to reinvent myself and then reinvent my relationships, right? Volunteering. One of the other things that I know has really helped a lot of my friends, and some kids take this the wrong way, but when they move out, redecorate, right?
A new exercise room.
Make yourself an exercise room. Or,
Yeah.
Sometimes just rearranging or repainting. It's important to create new space and new routine.
Yeah, Jen, I was actually going to come before Amie said that. I was going to ask you about your experience. Was there anything that, like, the word I was going to use was purge, which also is probably a little too aggressive in this conversation. But was there, did you find anything that was kind of brand new to you that you found in this process? And also, yeah, I'll ask the question outright. Did you purge? Did you get rid of some of the stuff in the joint? Yeah.
We did with my oldest, because like I said, he went to school in Florida, and that was strange for me because I had no idea that he would go so far away, and my fear was he would never come back, which came true. He met a lovely girl, they got married, he's still down there. So purging, yes, all of his trophies, his awards, all of his letters from sports, all of those things, kind of pack them up, and here, honey, we don't need these anymore. I'm sure that you would appreciate them. So things like that. But other than that, not really.
I'm curious too about if there was any sort of big change for you. Did you notice, have you started anything brand new or anything from a routine change that was kind of brand new for you in this whole process?
Not a new routine, trying to find myself, find my purpose, I think. Being able to connect with friends, getting back to, I have a group of friends, the Active Soul Sisters, that we exercise together now.
I love it.
So I'm able to dedicate more time and be with them, and go out with friends. Just putting myself first, which hasn't happened in a very, very long time.
That's a very awesome way of putting that. I think, I'm the youngest, and even now, my parents are very much like, we want to see the kids, we want to help when we can. I'm lucky that they're close enough and both here that, when we need help, we can go to them. The other part of me is like, go Go do something. Like, leave me alone. Stop bothering me about the kids. Go live your life. You mentioned something as simple as like a group of friends that gets together and exercise. My parents do either a Saturday or Sunday night dinner with a group every week. Either they're all going, half of them are going, some of them are going, most of them are going, but they've got this nice routine that they look forward to every week. They mark down the restaurants that they all like. They mark down the restaurants that they're not going to go back to, and they bounce around and they find that stuff to do. I think that's such an important part of the process of changing kind of really what the focal point of your life is in the midst of, like, your life is still going on and you've got to make a pretty quick pivot, no
Yeah.
matter how much preparation you do. Yeah.
Yeah, and when you said that, it just kind of also reminded me, I'm going to say a yes, and we have to remember that for most people, when you have kids who launch, right, it can take 18 to 24 months for parents to really figure out how to get in that new routine. So what I don't want is people to assume that, like, I got a week to grieve and then I got to move on, right? This is a long process. And it's okay if you're feeling sad 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks into this. It's not okay if it's getting to the point of depression or overwhelming sadness that's making you not function. But it can, to fully leave your role as you'll never not be a mom or a dad. It doesn't matter how old they are, they're going to need you. It's just different. But to fully step out of that active parenting role into an individual human being role, it can take a good, year or two to really find your footing. It's not going to happen overnight.
And also, it probably depends upon your relationship with your child. And if, like, I've seen somebody who it was their only child, and it was a single mom with her daughter, and she said, "Oh, she's my best friend.
Yep.
I've lost my best friend." And not only her daughter, but she had a really, really hard time with that.
Yeah, it can. My sister is getting ready to send her only child off to college. We're moving next weekend, so she's already having a hard time because it's who we are. So it's you can reinvent your relationship with your children. That's the cool part, is that you're launching them into adulthood. You've given them the tools. They're doing what they're supposed to be doing. It's a success story. Now you get to have a different sort of relationship with them, and that's pretty cool. It's just important to give yourself permission to cry, right?
Yes.
If you find yourself not being able to stop crying weeks out, then you probably want to talk to somebody about it, but it takes time.
I want to talk about this process. You mentioned the stretch of time it can take for you to kind of adjust to this schedule and this kind of new life, this new way of being. Life changes, things happen. If that nest goes from empty to suddenly one of your children or somebody close to you needs, it could be a parent. It could be a parent that needs more care and attention, that maybe needs to come in. I want to talk a little bit about the process of unemptying the nest, refilling the nest, and what that could kind of be like for someone. As we kind of come back to, I think in essence, if you, I don't want to put people in a corner, but as we talked about moms, how it can be harder for the kids to go away, I have to feel like maybe dads in a situation are the ones that are like, doors open for a little bit, but we gotta have a plan here. Like, you can come, things happen, and you're hoping you're hoping that it's a problem that can kind of be solved. But my guess is dad is going to be the one that's like, listen, we got Margaritaville's playing, buddy. So can we talk about that a little bit? The transition back to having adults, our grown kids, kind of needing to come back in. Amie, I'll start with you on this one, kind of needing to come back in and get back in the nest for a little bit.
Yeah, and we're seeing that more and more ever since COVID, right? Where we have kids coming back, people living at home together longer, people coming back financially for financial reasons. That can put a big strain on a marriage. So I'm going to answer that, but I also want to say we have to remember that if we're at the point where kids are launching and then having to come back, we also are, to your point, Crockett, probably looking at taking care of our elderly parents. We're looking at our own retirement. For women, we're in menopause, right? And sometimes there's experience of ill health of your spouse or your partner or yourself as we get older. So all of those things compounded are super stressful. I'm in that situation now where my son went away to college for 4 years. He went to law school for 3 years. He just graduated law school and he's back, right? Now, it's certainly not forever, but he's back for a time period, and it's been a great transition for me, right? I think it's been much harder, right, for my spouse. To your point, okay, what are you doing? Now he has a job lined up, but it's definitely a different dance, because when you have an adult moving home, you have to change the routines completely and figure out how to give space and have an adult relationship, but also not have that child upset the apple cart that you've worked very hard for a few years to rebuild.
Yes. I think it's interesting when your child goes away for college, the dynamics in your family change with the other children that are still home and you and your relationship. And then they come home from college for the summer and everything changes again. And you have to reestablish everything.
Yeah.
I'm curious, one of the spots that we started in this conversation, the word preparation came up, trying to be as prepared as you can. Jen, I'll start with you. Somebody who this is coming up. I mean, we just mentioned that there's, kids going back to school in this next week. Amie, you mentioned your friend. It's, has a child going to school, and that's going to be an empty nest for them. Jen, I'm going to start with you. The advice that you would give as we talk about the word preparation, not that you can be as prepared. I mean, you cried the whole way home from Florida. I'm sure you were very prepared on the ride down. It was probably a different ride back. What advice you would give to prepare for being an empty nester?
I think talking to your child about the parameters of when they go away, how much space they want. How are you going to call me once a week? Call me. I don't want to step on your toes. I don't want to intrude, but I do need to know that you're still breathing, that you're still going to classes.
Proof of life.
My money is not going to waste. Proof of life. Proof of life.
Proof of life.
So just
That's so good. Yeah. Just let me know you're breathing.
Let me know you're okay.
And possibly passing.
Send me an emoji, something.
Yeah.
But just just set the expectations with them, because I don't want to step on your toes and you're going off and you want to be independent, but I still need a little bit. Just give me a little something.
Just give me a little something. That's honestly, as a parent, so, we're kind of all in different phases of life here. I mentioned my 5-year-old. I'm having a very tough time with him getting bigger. My 9-year-old, I'm old news. Old news. Don't want you around, Dad. Beat it. Hit the bricks until, of course, she needs something. Then I'm ready to jump in there. But it's just fascinating. It doesn't matter, to kind of the point that we were talking about earlier. It doesn't matter what stage of parenthood you're in. You are a parent. And it sounds like sometimes that can be, it's just like any age. Some days you're like, man, I can't imagine my life without these children in it. And there's other days that are like, if you open that door one more time, it can be hard. So I think just having a good circle around you is a really important thing. So is that kind of maybe a good space to leave off here? Like, find empty nesters who have kind of been through it. Amie,
Yes.
would you recommend going and finding others that have lived it?
I would. I think it's my biggest piece of advice would be see your friends. And if you've kind of have fractured relationships with your friends because kids have taken the front seat, reach back out to them. Rekindle those relationships. I think, refocus on your marriage, or if you're not married, refocus on yourself, right? Right. What's your bucket list? Get the bucket list back out and start making those dreams a reality. Now's the time, right? It's very cool, and it can be very refreshing. I take the risk, go for the promotion. This is time for you now. So I think if you look at it that way, it can be exciting.
Seize the day.
Seize the day.
Seize the day. I feel like this has been a really positive podcast. We use words like purge and chaos and don't open that door and see what happens. But
Throwing
other than
birds
that,
out.
Yeah.
yes, bird launching,
Bird launching.
which we might get flagged for. I don't know.
Yeah,
Depends on
PETA
who's
might not
listening.
like that.
Yeah, it was. This was a very positive conversation. So, Jen and Amie, thank you. This was really great. Again, one of the things that I will continue and we always preach about on this podcast is community, where you can find it, how you can find it. Amie, you said it yourself. If there's a situation where maybe you don't have such a big community around you, volunteer. Go find a place that there are people there that you can meet that are like-minded and build those relationships. And I think that's an excellent thing. So to you both, let's go launch some birds. Thank you both
thanks,
for a great
Crockett.
conversation.
Hey,
today.
good luck with kindergarten launch.
Yes.
I am not ready to launch that bird just yet. It's the Just Start the Conversation podcast. It is brought to you by St. Luke's Penn Foundation. You can find this podcast wherever you get your podcasts and at pennfoundation.org. My name is Kevin Crockett. Thank you for checking in, as always, with this thing called the Just Start the Conversation podcast.